He had a secret you discovered was bigger than your entire marriage. And maybe it was a few months after your wedding, or maybe years in, but at some point you found out what it was. It wasn't another woman. It was a six-figure debt he'd been hiding from you for years. In that single moment, the man you promised your life to felt like a complete stranger, and the future you were so excited about felt like it was built on a lie. The air in your home, once filled with hope and new beginnings, suddenly turned so stale, heavy with the weight of everything that he had not said. You remember your hands shaking, not from cold, but from the chilling realization that hit you as you held a crumpled, overdue bill. It was for a loan that you never knew even existed, with a balance that made your stomach just drop. And it was just one of many. The number was so big it didn't even feel like it was real. It was more than your combined yearly income, more than the down payment you were carefully trying to save for that beautiful house that you so dreamed of. The betrayal felt physical, like a punch to the gut that knocks all the air out of you. Every promise you've made, every dream you'd shared, every I love you was suddenly cast in a new sinister light. How could the person you shared your bed with, the person you were building a future with, hide something so very huge? This story is all too common, and it's a form of betrayal that we call financial infidelity. My name is Teresa, but you can call me Reese. As a certified financial coach, a certified YNAB coach, and having completed the Dave Ramsey Financial Coach Master Training Program, I've worked with women who have faced this exact crisis. This is the story of how one simple question before marriage could have saved years of stress and heartache, and the painful journey it takes to get back to a solid ground. Looking back, as you've done so many times, you can see the signs were there. They weren't giant, like waving a red flag. They were more like a collection of small, quiet moments that on their own, they really seemed like nothing. At the time, you wove them into a story of charming quirks, not calculated deception. He was always a little forgetful with money. If his credit card got declined at dinner, he'd just laugh it off, saying he must have forgotten to move money around. You'd offer to pay, feeling a swell of protectiveness. You saw him as a creative, kind of absent-minded type of guy, not as someone with a deep, troubling problem. He handled his own finances, and because you respected his independence, you never pushed. You were a modern couple, right? Separate accounts, separate financial lives. You told yourselves you'd merge everything later after the wedding. Later was this comfortable, faraway place where all the messy details would magically sort themselves out. There were other things too. Mail he would quickly shuffle away before you could get a good look at it. Phone calls where his voice would just drop to a murmur if you walked into the room, like you couldn't even hear what he was saying. If you asked who he was or who it was that he was talking to, he'd give you a vague answer, just a telemarketer or work stuff. It never ever occurred to you that these were calls from creditors with their practiced, patient voices on the other end asking for payments that he just couldn't make. He was also generous to a fault, a quality that you used to love about him. Spontaneous weekend trips, expensive dinners, gifts that seemed way beyond his means. You'd question it sometimes, just gently. Are you sure we can afford this? You'd ask. He'd just wave it off. Don't worry about it. I got a bonus. And you wanted to believe him. It was so much easier to believe him than to face the uncomfortable idea that this generosity was funded by something other than his salary. It was funded by, you got it, debt. Every lavish gesture was just another shovel of dirt, burying you both deeper and deeper. The story you told yourself was that he was just bad with money, not that he was actively hiding a financial catastrophe. We talk about financial literacy, but we almost never talk about financial deception. You assumed his struggles were like yours, forgetting to pay a bill on time, maybe spending just a little bit too much. You never imagined it was a long-term pattern of borrowing just to stay afloat. A whole house of cards built on loans and maxed out credit cards. The secret wasn't just a secret, It was a double life, a second life that he was living. And by marrying him, you had unknowingly stepped right into its path. The discovery probably didn't happen in one big explosion. For most people, it's a slow, sickening trickle of information that turns into a flood. It may have started with that one letter, the one you found tucked inside a magazine or a drawer. It was a final notice, the language cold and threatening. The amount was just staggering. Your first thought was likely, this has to be a mistake or a scam. That night, you waited for him to come home. You remember sitting on the edge of your sofa, the letter feeling like a toxic object in your hand. The happy life you were building suddenly felt like a movie set, and you had just walked behind the screen to see the cheap wood and wires holding it all together. When he walked in the door, smiling, asking about your day, the sheer normalcy of it felt like an attack. You couldn't even speak. You just held up that letter. The smile is evaporated from his face. It was replaced by confusion or anger, but by a look you had never seen on him before. The hollow, exhausted expression of someone who's been caught. The fight was just gone. It was the look of pure surrender. "What is this?" you finally whispered, your voice shaking. He just sank onto a chair, not even meeting your eyes. "I can explain," he started, which are pretty much the three most terrifying words in the English language. And then everything came out. Not just the one loan, but all of them. He confessed to years of living beyond his means, a downward spiral of debt. Maybe it was student loans he defaulted on, which wrecked his credit. From there, it was taking out high interest personal loans to pay off other debt, then using credit cards to cover living expenses because the loan payments were so high. It was a dizzying, desperate shell game, moving debt from one pocket to another, all while trying to project an image of success and stability. The six-figure number on that one letter, that was just the tip of the iceberg. The grand total was devastating. You felt a wave of emotions, one crashing right after another. First, just white hot anger. How could he lie to you, to your partnership, to your covenant? You stood in front of your friends and family and promised honesty, a shared life. His deception made a complete mockery of it all. Then came the fear, cold and sharp. What did this mean for your future? Could you ever own a home? Could you have children, retire? All those dreams seemed to vanish into a fog of debt. But underneath all that was a deep, profound sadness. He wasn't a monster. He was just a man drowning in shame who had made a series of awful decisions and was too terrified to admit it. He cried while he told you everything, not for himself, but for what he had done to you. He explained that he'd planned to tell you so many times, but the right time, it just never came. He was afraid you would leave him. And in that moment, sitting in the ruins of the life you thought you had, you were afraid of the exact same thing. For weeks, your home was a silent battlefield. You were basically roommates, coexisting in a space thick with resentment and fear. Your conversations were purely logistical, all centered on the immediate crisis. You laid out every single bill, every statement, every threatening letter on your dining room table. It was a physical monument to his secret life. You argued, you cried, you barely slept. The stress was crushing and you couldn't see a path forward. You felt betrayed and completely trapped. His debt wasn't legally yours, but now that you were married, it was your problem. It would drain your household income and destroy your shared goals. Divorce felt like a very real option. In a lot of ways, it probably felt like the only logical one. After all, financial problems are consistently ranked as one of the top reasons for divorce. During one of those tense late night meetings at the dining table, surrounded by the wreckage of your finances, a thought hits with brutal clarity, a question that constantly replays in your mind over and over. How could all of this, all this pain, this stress, this fear, this confusion have been avoided? And sister, I have to tell you this. The answer is devastatingly simple. It all comes down to a single conversation that you never had. One question you never asked. The one question that could have changed everything was this: what debts do you have? Is that that direct. What debts do you have, including credit cards, student loans, personal loans, car notes, or any other financial obligations? That's it. That's the question. It's not an accusation or a judgment. It's a request for the single most important piece of information that will impact a shared financial life. It cuts right through the romantic ideas about love and gets to the practical reality of building a life with someone, a life that involves budgets and shared responsibilities. Asking about spending habits, oh, that's great. Talking about savings goals is important, but neither of those things reveals the existing concrete liabilities that can instantly cripple a partnership. Debt is not a personality trait. It's a mathematical reality. It's an active drain on financial resources that needs a strategy today, not later. Ignoring it is like agreeing to build a house with someone without asking if the foundation is sitting on solid ground or quicksand. You were so busy picking out paint colors that you never bothered to check the foundation. And now your house is sinking. If this is your story and you're navigating the complex emotions of financial betrayal, take a second to subscribe. This channel is about having the tough conversations about money and relationship, because financial transparency is the bedrock of a real partnership. Hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss future videos that could help you on your path forward. Realizing that one direct question could have stopped this crisis, that is a bitter pill to swallow, but it's also the first real step toward a solution. It shifts the perspective from seeing this as just his personal failure to seeing it as a shared failure in communication. You both failed to build a transparent foundation. So why is this one question, what debts do you have, so much more critical than any other money question before marriage? First, the scale of the problem is enormous. As of the fourth quarter of 2025, total U.S. credit card balances soared to a record high of $1.28 trillion, according to the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. This isn't a small problem. It's a widespread reality. The chances of a partner having some debt aren't just high, it's the norm. The question isn't if there's debt, but how much and what's the plan for it. Second, undisclosed debt is an immediate liability. It's not like a difference in spending habits, which is about behavior. Debt hits your budget from day one. It dictates how much money you have left every month. It tanks your debt to income ratio, which is critical for joint loans like a mortgage. A partner's hidden debt and bad credit score can single-handedly stop you from buying a home or force you into sky-high interest rates. So how do you have this conversation without it feeling like an interrogation? It's all about the frame. If you're rebuilding or advising someone else, this is how you need to approach it. 1, make it a team activity. Schedule a time for it. Say, I think it's important for our future that we have a financial transparency meeting. No judgment. Let's just put all our cards on the table so we can plan as a team. I'll go first. This makes it about building a future together, not auditing the past. 2, pull your credit reports together. And do this before you say I do. The easiest way to get the full picture is to look at the data. Thanks to a permanent change, you can both get free weekly copies of your credit reports from the official site, creditreport.com. I suggest you both do it. Then sit down and go through them together. This takes the pressure off of a confession. The numbers are just there on the paper, turning it into a shared problem to solve. Number 3, ask follow-up questions with curiosity, not judgment. Once the debts are out in the open, the follow-up is crucial. Ask things like, what's the story behind this debt? Understanding how it happened provides important context. What's the current repayment plan? I want to pause here for just a moment, because if you're listening right now and money feels heavy, you are not alone. So many women and couples tell me we're paying the bills, but we're still living paycheck to paycheck. We're carrying debt and we don't know which move to make first. If this describes you and you don't need a long-term program or a 3-month commitment, my Clarity Consultation program is designed just for you. This is a focused conversation where we look at your finances, identify what's keeping you stuck, and you walk away with clear, practical action steps you can take right away without it being time consuming or so overwhelming. If you're ready to stop guessing and start making progress, click the link in the description to learn more. Now let's get back to it. This shows if they're actively managing it or ignoring it. Okay, what are the interest rates? High interest debt is a financial emergency that needs to be tackled first. Number 4, please discuss your philosophies on debt. Is debt a tool to be used strategically or something to avoid at all costs? Getting aligned on your core beliefs about debt is just as important as knowing the numbers. This is also where you can discuss how you'll handle debt as a married couple. Will premarital debt stay separate or will you attack it together? Please remember this conversation isn't a test. It's the start of a lifelong dialogue about money. Financial disagreements are a leading cause of divorce for a reason, and secrecy is the poison that makes it toxic. Openness, even when it's uncomfortable, is the antidote. It would be a lie to say that after the big dramatic confrontation, everything is magically fixed. That's not how real life works. The road back from this kind of betrayal is long, messy, and incredibly hard. The resolution isn't a single moment. It's a series of grueling choices made every single day. Perhaps, sadly, you decided to divorce. Or perhaps, after many long, difficult conversations, you saw his deep shame and genuine remorse. Maybe you realized that while his actions were a huge betrayal, they came from a place of fear, not malice. If you decided the man you fell in love with was worth fighting for, your path forward likely started with one thing: radical transparency. The first step for couples who rebuild is often creating a master spreadsheet with every single debt, interest rate, and due date. Seeing the full picture is the only way to start chipping away at it. Many combine their finances completely, not out of a romantic idea, but out of grim necessity. Every dollar from both paychecks goes into one account, and every single dollar is accounted for. A bare bones budget becomes the new reality. No more spontaneous trips or expensive dinners. Every spare cent goes toward paying down the highest interest debt first, a strategy known as the debt avalanche. It's humbling and often miserable. Many also need professional help. Couples counseling can help work through the breach of trust, which is in many ways harder to fix than the debt itself. A nonprofit credit counselor can help consolidate loans and negotiate lower interest rates. Admitting you can't fix this on your own can be a huge turning point. Today, years later, you may still not be debt-free, but perhaps the mountain is now a manageable hill. For couples who make it through, their marriage is different and stronger. The naive innocence is gone, but it's often replaced by something stronger, more resilient, a partnership forged in crisis. They have weekly budget meetings the same way other couples have date nights. It's not always about romance, but it's real. If this describes your current situation, I recommend that you read Love Dare Together with Your Husband by Alex Kendrick and Stephen Kendrick, and watch Fireproof together. I want to commend you on pushing through. Love prevailed and has made you so much stronger. The secret that almost destroyed your relationship could paradoxically end up forcing a level of communication you never would have gotten to otherwise. Your future is no longer a vague dream. It's a carefully planned project you are building together, one budget meeting at a time. Sister, there's hope, but it's a hope that is earned through discipline, honesty, and a whole lot of work. Financial infidelity is a silent killer of marriages. It grows in the dark, fueled by secrecy, shame, and fear. The story you've just heard could be a version of your own, and you are not alone. It's happening in countless relationships, no matter how much money people make. The solution starts with bringing it all into the light. For those not yet in your shoes, it starts with having the courage to ask the hard questions before committing your life to someone. An open conversation about debt isn't unromantic. It's the ultimate act of love. It's saying, I want to build a real future with you. And a real future has to be built on a foundation of truth. Whether you are deep in this struggle now or have just come out on the other side. It's never too late to demand honesty. If you have been through this, please consider sharing your experience in the comments below. Your story might just give someone else the courage to speak up or the hope that they need just to keep going. And if this video validated your experience, share it with someone who needs to hear this message. For more honest conversations about navigating money and relationships, make sure you subscribe and have that notification bell on. I want to thank you so much for watching. I hope and pray that God will see you through to the other side and your marriage will be stronger, more beautiful. You'll be able to sow into other marriages. This does not have to be the end. And I will leave you with this. What the enemy meant for your evil, what the enemy meant for harm, God can turn it around and work it out for your good. So thank you so much for listening. If you're on the podcast, thank you for watching. If you're on YouTube, and I will see you the next time.